obviously, Canada will always stand up for our workers and our companies. We need to make sure that we're protecting Canadian interests in any situation. We continue to engage with the government of Saudi Arabia. The Minister of Foreign Affairs had a long conversation with their Foreign Minister yesterday, and diplomatic talks continue. But as the Minister has said, and as we will repeat, Canada will always speak strongly and clearly in private and in public on questions of human rights.
Fielding questions in Montreal last hour on the growing rift with Saudi Arabia. The kingdom wants an apology, and it's ramping up diplomatic and financial pressure. But as you heard there, the Canadian government is standing by its criticism of the Saudis' detention of several activists. CBC's Evan Dyer is in Ottawa with more.
Well, things have been escalating over the last several days, and they continued through the past 24 hours with some new measures from Saudi Arabia aimed, it appears, at hurting Canada economically. Perhaps the most significant is an order to the asset managers of the Saudi Central Bank and pension funds to dump Canadian assets. In other words, to sell off all of their Canadian shares, bonds, and any other assets at any price that they can get. And of course, typically, when you do that, you do cause prices and values to fall. We did see a fall in the Canadian dollar following that announcement, although it quickly recovered more than it had lost. So that may be an indication that the markets don't think that this is that substantive. It's more of a sort of a symbolic gesture. We saw a comment earlier today, not that long ago, from the Saudi Foreign Minister as well, who gave a news conference in Riyadh, Adel Al-Jubair, speaking about this dispute, in which he made it pretty clear that Saudi Arabia is looking for nothing less than a retraction and an apology. Let's have a look at that.
Canada knows what it needs to do. Canada started this, and it's up to Canada to find a way out of it. A mistake was made. A mistake needs to be corrected. Very simple. There's nothing to mediate.
And of course, the Saudis have taken some other measures too, ordering all medical patients in Canada to leave the country. This follows on their demand that all international students from Saudi Arabia studying at Canadian universities have to leave. There is on that front a small reprieve for one subset of students. It appears that Saudi medical students who are doing postgrad work in Canada may be allowed to stay until the 1st of September, although of course that would not, in most cases, allow them to finish their studies, one would imagine. One other thing we might mention, it appears to be perhaps related to this, that Saudi Arabia today in Mecca publicly crucified a man. He had been previously convicted of murder. He was a Myanmar or Burmese citizen. You know, Saudi Arabia, of course, does have very harsh penalties. It frequently flogs, amputates, beheads people for crimes ranging from drug dealing to witchcraft, but crucifixions are less common. And this may perhaps be a sort of a signal to the West, you know, don't talk about our human rights record. This is who we are and this is how we do things. But that occurred earlier today in the city of Mecca, a public crucifixion with the body being put on display.
That's the CBC's Evan Dyer in Ottawa.